Dear students, today we are going to deal about financial frauds in India in a very brief manner as part of our paper Consumer Awareness. In early days, in the sense in a very remote period, the economy was one characterized by barter, that is exchange of goods, and it was replaced by money economy wherein gold or silver coins were used for exchanging goods and articles. Ever since money economy emerged, people were categorized as rich and poor based on their ability to procure money. Government either received taxes in money or converted the taxes in the form of money. Thus, an elaborate monetary system emerged. This system was gradually made scientific, particularly when money was issued in paper notes. Countries followed the bullion system of reserving gold or silver and issuing corresponding paper notes through their centralized bank, such as the Reserve Bank of India. Based on the strength of the finances, the inflation and deflation rates are fixed, and it is generally said that about 5% of inflation or 5% of deflation are bearable by any economy. The financial strength of nations divide them into developed and developing countries. And these developing countries, they tend to borrow money from developed countries, and also international institutions such as World Bank and International Monetary Fund. With the borrowed money, they draw a picture of the national income, and based on which they draw a budget wherein the income and expenditure is explicitly mentioned. In the process of budget, the greatest problem that has been encountered by economists at the national level is the problem of the financial frauds, or otherwise mentioned as non-performing assets. I am not trying to mention that the financial frauds occurring in this nation is only based on this non-performing assets, but it is one of the major problems as far as India is concerned. A non-performing asset is a loan or advance for which the principal or interest payment remained overdue for a period of more than 90 days. Let me briefly explain what happens as far as this non-performing asset is concerned. In India, Reserve Bank, it keeps a reserve and it issues paper notes. And the Reserve Bank of India, he gives a commitment of paying the value of the amount mentioned in the paper notes. And thus, the paper notes are exchanged and things are bought by the people. And similarly, these paper notes are issued to various banks, which are chiefly called the nationalized banks. And these banks, they lend this money as loans. These banks also, they take deposits. And usually what happens is the interest they pay for the deposits are lesser than the amount they give out as loans. So banks are issued incentives based on the deposits that they have received, because with the strength of the deposits, the Reserve Bank, it calculates the financial strength, and based on that the GDP is calculated. In India, budget was usually performed in the previous years in the month of February. So in the month of February, bank managers, they contact business people who have enormous money to deposit money in their bank for a brief period. So once the budget is over, this amount of the great businessman will be returned back, for which they will be given a small amount as interest. So what happens here is the amount which has been calculated in the GDP goes back to the businessman, and also the unexpected or uncalculated interest that has occurred in a very brief period also goes. So this causes a planning error at the larger structure. If this money is available, then this can be used for welfare projects in which large number of people could benefit. Particularly here as consumers, we would have received better price tags for articles and utensils that we buy. Eminent economist and the previous RBI governor Raghuram Rajan says this in terms of dosa economy. With financial strength at every level, a person's purchasing ability increases at the grassroots level also. That is what he calls as dosa economy. Inflation will be controlled efficiently and at large it will benefit the people. If this is a problem that worries the ordinary people, the another problem that comes as a great curse as far as Indian economy is concerned is one of bad debts. People such as Vijay Malaya and others, when they borrow money, they are not repaying that amount and they seek for bailing out. So this amount that cannot be received from the business tycoons or big business people are called bad debts. So what happens is this budgeting mechanism, they calculate these bad debts also with the expectation that this money will come back and will strengthen the people's purchasing power, but it goes otherwise. Not only that, many banks they are hesitant to issue loans for educated people from middle class, and also they are very hesitant to issue uh, educational loans for youth who are studying in colleges or higher educational institutions, as because they believe that this amount that has been issued will go as bad debt. As a consumer, every Indian citizen who is a middle class or in the lower middle class or even the poor is affected because of the dishonest practice happening somewhere else. India's largest bank is the State Bank of India, and many of the foreign countries which want to do business with India are hesitant because of the policies followed by State Bank of India and its financial failures. Let me narrate one of the problems that we encounter through this State Bank of India. At one point of time, they declared that they are going to provide zero balance to every consumer or every account holder in their bank. But suddenly they prescribe a minimum amount of rupees 5,000. In India, a person who is earning rupees 2,000 is considered a man above poverty line. So, a person having 5,000 rupees is a person with 2.5 months of salary in his credit. Government says that everybody should have an account, and every subsidy in financial form can be easily credited to the people's account if at all an account has been created by the citizens. So, when suddenly the bank announces 5,000 rupees as minimum deposit or minimum balance, many people, even salaried persons, they find it very difficult to have this minimum amount. They say that this particular amount of the State Bank of India has several benefits when you buy online or if you want to conduct demat operations. Maybe that is true, but for an ordinary person who does not have the ability to purchase his everyday bread, what is it means to have some edge in buying online or doing business through demat account? Not only they declare that they are going to maintain 5,000 balance as minimum, but also they issue a penalty for not following these norms newly issued by the bank, and therefore average account holder who could not bear this particular decision of the bank, they are issued penalty of rupees 250 per every month. And what happens is, if at all this person he wants to operate his account and he deposits an amount of rupees 2000 or 2500, immediately this amount has been deducted as penalty, and this surprises or even shocks the ordinary account holder who is from the below poverty line. There is another case in which I have an experience of being affected by the decision of a bank. So I borrowed an amount from the bank to buy a car, and they issued a loan. And what happened is, they calculated an amount which is called equal monthly installment, shortly called EMI. That equal monthly installment per month is calculated to be about rupees 4,750. I am paying this amount for a period of 6 years, and the recovery period is 7 years. After the expiry of 6 years, this bank personnel he contacts me and he says that I am due by rupees 30,000 to the bank. I said I am paying the bank perfectly, and every month rupees 4,750 is debited from my account correctly. And they say that from the fourth year the amount has been changed, and they are expecting me to pay the changed amount, which is 4,920. So 170 rupees has been increased, but I have not been informed of this increase. When I said that I am not informed, they said that no matter, sir, you have to pay, but if you fail to pay, then we will blacklist your name in a particular website, and you may not be able to receive any loan from any financial institute from the nation. This is not only a financial fraud, but it's also a kind of harassment on the part of the bank. For this, we can go to the consumer court, no doubt. But if an ordinary citizen, if he fails to honor the check that he has issued, he will be put behind the bars. But in case of these banks, only some compensation will be asked to be paid. So punishments are not serious for such issues. It also depicts the fact that the banks are not very consumer friendly. If the case of nationalized banks is like this, then no matter to explain how the system in private banks will operate. So, from the top level, I have given some examples of what is non performing assets, and also a few instances of the kinds of financial frauds occurring in the nation, and so on and so forth. So, with this brief introduction, I would like to conclude my lecture on financial frauds in India. Thank you very much.